Hi, I'm Seriously, Taiwan Matters, Taiwanese American living in Europe. These are my guinea pigs. To answer this question, why Taiwan matters especially to the West, the piggies and I sat through a U.S. congressional hearing titled Deterrence Amid Rising Tensions, Preventing CCP Aggression on Taiwan. Yeah, that was fun. So, we've summarized the hearing into a series of short videos. This is the first one that we'll cover. What is China's threat to Taiwan? What's at stake, especially for the West, if China attacks Taiwan? On democracy, economy, and security. Let's get into it.
This hearing today is not just another discussion about long-term competition with China. This is about a very real, near-term threat and the narrowing window we have to prevent a catastrophic conflict in the Indo-Pacific. 2027 is not an American date, but a Chinese one. Xi has ordered the People's Liberation Army to be ready to take Taiwan by force by 2027.
What did you say?
Xi's directive is backed by the largest military buildup since World War II on land, at sea, in the skies, in space, and across cyberspace. We are not seeking war. We are trying to prevent one. And prevention only works if Xi believes that the cost of aggression is too high to bear. That requires action, serious enough, visible enough, and fast enough to shift the risk calculation in Beijing.
Oh, by the way, here's Taiwan, an island just across the Taiwan Strait from China. Awkwardly close, yet politically worlds apart. It's about the size of the Netherlands or Switzerland, or roughly Maryland. Population, around 23 million, a few more than the Netherlands, and a lot more scooters. Taiwan has never been part of the People's Republic of China, not even for a nanosecond. So when China threatens Taiwan, it's not a family feud. It's a one-party authoritarian state gearing up to attack a thriving democracy. If China attacks Taiwan, what's at stake, especially for the West? Threat to democracy.
On one side of the strait, you have a one-party dictatorship, and on the other side is Taiwan, a democracy doing everything it can to make sure that, in the words of one great Illinoisan, government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Taiwan is a vibrant, self-governing democracy, and the CCP's aggressive posture, military, economic, and digital, isn't just a threat to Taiwan's autonomy. It's a challenge to the idea that free people have the right to choose their own future. That principle is worth standing up for, and that's why today's hearing matters.
Yes.
If China attacks Taiwan, what's at stake for the West and the world? Massive economic impact.
According to a recent study, a conflict over Taiwan would be absolutely devastating for the world. It would drop global GDP by a staggering $10 trillion, or 10% in one single year. And as you can see, a war over Taiwan would be much, much worse than even the COVID pandemic at its height. Losing access to Taiwan's semiconductors alone would push the U.S. into a, quote, immediate Great Depression. People would die, and our economy would crash.
What Taiwan provides to us technologically is unique globally. They are the most important ingredient in the global economy with respect to TSMC.
If China attacks Taiwan, what's at stake, especially for the West? National security, as China and Russia partner up on military capabilities.
If you ask me, what is the most formidable partnership, militarily, strategically, on the planet today? It's not the United States with any of our allies. It is Russia with China. And the fact is, what China is doing to help Russia on the battlefield in Ukraine is truly concerning. But remember, it's the reverse that's going to affect us as well. Russia has capabilities, hypersonic capabilities, silencing of their submarines, things that they're going to provide to China that are going to provide a real threat to us. And so understanding that this relationship is affecting not only peace and stability in Europe, but in the Indo-Pacific as well.
Taiwan sits at the center of the first island chain, a string of U.S. allied and strategic partners stretching from Japan to the Philippines and Indonesia. This chain serves as a natural barrier to China's military expansion into the Pacific. If Taiwan falls, that barrier breaks.
Yeah, at the same time that Russia is deeply and actively engaged in this brutal, illegitimate campaign in Ukraine, they're also increasing their operational dynamics with China in the Western Pacific, operating around Japan, in the Taiwan Strait. You've seen statements from Russia indicating that they would be prepared to potentially participate with China in actions there. Look, I agree, ultimately, we've got to step up our deterrent capability, but I would also say the real challenge that we face, if we have a faltering of our will, if we have statements that somehow, gee, we're not as interested in this, or gee, let's figure out how to get along with Xi Jinping. Ultimately, what that will lead to are questions in Taiwan about the United States, about our role and our commitment. And that's what China wants. That's what China wants, is not to cut a deal with us, but to have us signal somehow that we're waning in our commitment, and they will then use that to go to Taiwan and say, see, your backer has lost its will. That is why the work of this committee is so important.
Well, you set me up.
Yikes. I think the piggies just lost their appetite. 2027 is right around the corner. That's Xi Jinping's date for the Chinese military to be ready to take Taiwan by force. And in 2024 alone, Chinese military aircraft entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone more than 3,000 times, an 81% jump from 2023. One day, 153 warplanes showed up for exercises around the island. Clearly, Beijing is warming up for something, and it's not yoga. So, how should Western democracies respond? How do you stop a war before it starts without starting one? That's the next video. I'll link to it right here when it's out.